So, Ninad, I think we should get it started now.
Great. So, good evening and good morning, everyone, from wherever you are around the world. We welcome back everyone who attended our last week's session, and also welcome all the new registrants to the second session of Crafting Effective Emails. In the last session, we discussed the basics of email writing. And in the session today, we will be going in depth to discuss specific examples of email writings. To kick off the session, I will welcome first Dr. Pawan Upadhyay, who is also the founder of iSTEM Care. Pawan currently works as a postdoctoral fellow at Washington University in St. Louis in the area of cancer genomics, and has also previously worked in the Indian biomedical industry. Today, he will be acting as a panelist as well as my co-moderator for this session. So Pawan.
Yeah, thank you, Ninad, for kind introduction. So before I move on to the topic, let me introduce to Ninad, who's our co-host today. So Ninad works as a bioinformatics research scientist at St. Jude Children's Research Center Hospital in Memphis. And throughout his professional career, Ninad has led and continues to work with various career development and online content development organizations at institutional and national level. And Ninad has another unique style of taking sketch notes of scientific presentations that he regularly posts on his Twitter. So with this, welcome to all the participants for this session today. I'm really excited to be with you all and look forward for an enriching session today. And hopefully we will be able to help you with the email communication more in real life, with the real life examples. So before we go on to session, there are some more people we got registered. So for them and for so let's introduce the iSTEM Care. So we are a group of PhDs, postdocs, and industry professionals spread worldwide. Founded iSTEM Care earlier this year with an objective to reach out to STEM community with practical and realistic guidance to face the professional world, which we have either faced in our life or are facing currently while navigating our career journey. At iSTEM Care, our intention is to help people in a caring and compassionate manner to allow the STEM community thrive with the ease. The overall aim in the future is to build individual specific solution for STEM community, irrespective of context or the medium. And that is why we named this organization as iSTEM Care, where I means individualized, that operates on a simple motto, sharing is caring. So with this, we have partnered with iSTEM Peers, which many of you know. STEM Peers is a Facebook group founded in 2015 when they realized that many of us PhDs confront an information lag on how to navigate the challenges in academic career and beyond. And in 2017, they grew from a virtual group into a registered not-for-profit organization. And because of their dynamic community and altruistic volunteers and leaders, they expanded in their ideologies and outreach. And now they have STEM Fear conferences in US and Europe, connecting around 17,000 STEM professionals. So with this, I'll hand it back to the Ninad for certain housekeeping announcement, and then we'll move on to the session. Ninad, to you.
Can you move to the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a general etiquette guideline for everyone who is new and old. Since this is a Zoom meeting, to minimize the background noise, we request everyone to mute your microphone. And also the webcams are not required but are encouraged so that you get to see each other during this webinar. Uh, we also encourage you to use the reaction option in the Zoom app to engage more with the audience, but again, it's not required. Uh, and then I will be moderating this session and also following the chat for all the questions that come throughout the session. I will try to answer as many questions as possible in the chat, but also make a note of them so that we ask them to our panelists at the end of the session. And then please look out for the follow-up email for the feedback survey. We got overwhelming response last time, and then we hope to receive the same at the end of this session as well. And just a disclaimer for all the panelists, everyone is here on the voluntary basis. So all the views that are expressed are mainly the experiences they have come across during their life, but they are not representative of their current organization or affiliations. And with that, I would like to introduce our panelists for today's session. Pawan?
Yeah. So so we have 6 panelists today. So we have. So let me start with one. The first, Dr.
Can
Deepak.
you
He
go
is a
to
research
the
scientist.
slide?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Deepak is a research scientist at the University of Hong Kong, and after his PhD there, he did his PhD there, and he has a research experience in academia and commercial sector in UK, India, and Hong Kong. Nina, do you want to go for other panelists?
Sure. Yeah. So our next panelist is Dr. Jacinth. She recently completed her postdoctoral fellowship at UT Health, San Antonio, Texas. And currently, Jacinth is a freelance writer and communicator aiming to transition to industrial research and development. Next, we have Anurag, who's currently pursuing his PhD at the University of Turin in Italy in the area of cancer research. And in his free time, he is a freelance writer as well as a scientific reporter. Next, we have Dr. Rasika. Rasika is an oncology scientist at Rutgers University, New Jersey, USA. And after finishing her PhD back in India, she moved to join her scientist position. Her passions include scientific writing as well as science communication. We also have Dr. Prajeet joining us today who is a postdoctoral fellow at City of Hope, California in the area of cancer genomics. And in his free time, he loves designing and artistic activities. And lastly, we have Dr. Prasanna, who is currently a postdoc of at Texas A&M University. She is very enthusiastic about sharing and helping the research community through activities like the one today. And all these panelists, as you can see, come from different stages in their careers. And we hope to drive from their experiences and how they have applied or gained some experiences for email writing in today's workshop. So with that, I would like to invite Pawan to introduce today's session as well as kick off the discussion. One thing I would like to note that unlike last session where we went over the basics of the email writing, today we will try to be more hands-on and give some specific examples of emails so that some of those which were sent by the attendees or registrants from the last week and some of the other ones that our panelists have collected. So it's going to be a more of a interesting session as we will look at some real life examples. So Pawan, to you.
Yeah, so let's get started on our agenda today. So we know that this networking is a very buzzword. This is not unknown to most of us, and then there is an application, but most of time people mix up with both. While networking, they ask for the job, so which is kind of a bit difficult to deal with. So let's look at what applicants study looks like. So if you look at this pyramid, we generally start with advertisement. We look at advertisement, staffing agency, job portals. campus LinkedIn jobs, right? And then at the end, we just go and ask for a job, right? That's what applicants do. However, and the number of applicants you see, it decreases. So you have a lot of people looking at ad, but less in networking. But generally, the recruiter's strategy is exactly opposite, which is pyramid is where they rely less trust on their ads, staffing agencies, job portals, but more on internal referrals and networking. So this is a big mismatch, a lot of people don't know, and they just, and if you look at where is the money is here, right? If you do networking, the chances of getting into highly trusted applicants is high with the recruiters. So that's what we are going to touch base today, as well as the application part, where it is totally different. Once you have the networking, you go for the application. So in networking today, we'll be discussing with you about informational interview, which is very crucial, new things coming up in networking, inquiring position, which is very common, all of us, we do it, requesting job referrals, rarely we do it, we shy away, and an invitation request, and the LinkedIn connection note, which is most common in on LinkedIn networking, what you're doing. And second part, we will be covering on applications. We try to be like to to cater to the majority. So this is what the major interest was. So research fellow, Ph.D, postdocs, and industry application. Um, so we'll first start with the networking part, and which is I think leads to the application. That's how it goes. So let's look at the informational interview request. So here I would invite Jason, who is our kind of expert today for this part. So Jason, you want to go for it?
Yes, thanks, Pavan. So, an informational interview is a meeting where you talk to someone in your desired university or lab or industry. It is mostly done to gain information about the future position, and it helps you to receive first-hand relevant information about your dream lab or university of company. Most informational interviews are arranged via emails, which is why we chose to discuss this in today's session. But please remember that an informational interview is very different from a job interview, and this will not fetch you a job. So never write an email saying that you're looking for a position and you need their help in securing a position. Though requesting an informational interview is usually done to find a job, you should frame yourself as an information seeker rather than a job applicant. If the recipient feels that you're simply seeking for a job, you may be directed to the company's career page instead. Hence, you can always ask about job opportunities later after you've met and made an impression. So here's what you should be writing in an email to request an informational interview. The subject line should definitely include informational interview request, and the text should include a brief introduction about yourself, including your intended career goals. But apart from that, it is also important to include few comments on their career path or few lines that reflect an honest evaluation of their accomplishments and the reason why you chose to contact them. Why this is important is because this will add a bit of personalization to your request, which will make your request stand out amongst the many emails that they receive. After you set this tone, then you can end the email by requesting them politely if they would be interested in discussing with you further. So this is how you go about requesting for an informational interview.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. So as you saw, once you have the information interview, the next comes, you ask them something for job referrals. So Rasika would be kind of discussing this part. And don't worry, at the end, what we are going to do after discussing different topics, we'll summarize and kind of take everyone's feedback on that. So Rasika, you can go for
Okay,
this.
sure. Thank you, Pawan. So, another set of email what we generally come across is for requesting the job referral. As you could see that on the left hand side of your panel, that how it should not be the job referral email, in which first, like, you are introducing yourself, but you are just asking for a help with like some random notes saying like, oh, I see this post and I on LinkedIn, and can I just get a job referral? Pavan, can I just ask you for like a good yes? So if you see this part of the slide where you can see that how we should ask for the job referral. First, like introduce yourself, which is very common as we have discussed in the first part of the session. Second is what you have done during your master's or a PhD or whatever is your experience that you have to explain. And then first, always remember that you should be polite while asking the job referral. You should ask to the first known person for the job referral and not a random unknown person. If you are asking for a random unknown person, make sure that you are polite, you are introducing yourself very well. And uh, ultimately say that you are appreciating the help if you are like communicating with your CV and your resume and whatever what you are communicating with. uh, then as this is highlighted in this slide, that be grateful to share your CV and with the organization. Also important point in this thing, what I would like to highlight is ask for the feedback if it is possible, because that will help you to improve your CV further for the next application and for any of the shortcomings with your job referral thing. And again at end, like say that you are happy to share any other information if it is needed from your end. I think these are the points which you need to be considering while you are putting your email for the job referral, and this is how you should put.
Yeah, thank you, Rasika. One important point I want to add,
Mm-hmm.
you may not know, but working in industry, most of like us know that a job referral is not free. If I refer a job to my HR in my company or organization, I get paid for it. I get a bonus if you are hired. So it is not something like nobody wants to do it. It's not burden. It's like I will be pleased to do it if I see that your CV matches. And but the thing is, the communication is very important. If you just come say I have a CV, give me a job, it's not a referral. So and especially we need to forward the same email which you ask for a referral, so that way the email or your email is very important. I cannot draft on your behalf. So be free, we use this facility, and I hope with this you will be using more of asking for referrals. So let's move on to the new topic today. And then it is inquiring position, where you don't know there is open position, and that's a different from a referral, because that has a different tone and different way of looking at things. So let's move on to this topic, and I'll invite Deepak for this. You're muted, Deepak.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Sorry for. Okay, so when you approach someone directly to inquire about the existence of a position, whether it is an employee, the HR manager, or even the CEO, it is never right to send in a job application email directly. Moreover, your tone must be humble, but you should never appear as if you are begging for a position. The potential employer will not be impressed by this, and there's a chance that he may feel sympathetic towards you, but he will not appreciate your skills or your talent. Now, could we go to the correct email?
Yeah.
Okay. So in contrast, when you send an email where you focus more on your skills, your experience, and how it relates to the company's profile, you are enhancing your fit for potential positions that may already be present in the organization. Now, within this email on the right, I want you to focus on the key element that is highlighted in the green pop-up box about requesting feedback on your skills. Now, this is an important variation because it makes the email receiver believe that he is in a position of a higher power. Now, this is important. Additionally, do notice that the sender has not directly applied for a position, rather asked to be included in the talent pool. Now, this is a subtle way of making a job application, but not being too vocal about it. Now, all of these points would make your email stand out from the pool of emails that the employer receives regularly and increases your chances of getting noticed. This will consequently advance your network as well as the associated opportunities. Okay, back to you, Pawan.
Yeah, so thank you, Deepak, for nicely describing this. Next comes invitation, and we are very poor as researchers to invite people. We are just busy in our world. So I'll be discussing with you this topic. So invitation, you will be thinking why a researcher need to invite anyone, anyways. But it's very important while even you communicate with your peers, you are leading a project or anything. It's very important. So me invitation has to be exciting. I don't want to meet you if you're dull. Nobody wants a negative person around. So the first important point, if you read this email uh, saying we are inviting you for a year in meeting, please confirm and we'll be reviewing. It's like I'm trying to make you fear that we are going to review it and you should be prepared for it. So that should not be the tone. So the tone should be something like inviting. So it should be like, air end approaching. And this is kind of company kind of secretary inviting people, everyone to come for a meet. Like you have an institute, your lab, it may be applying to anything. So there are certain components in an invitation. What is the purpose? Second thing, where to meet, when to meet, and what we are gonna do once we meet, right? So these are the three different components there, and that's what we have highlighted, that whenever you're writing any meeting invitation, don't just say let's meet. It has to be formal, including where, why, where, what we are gonna do, and what is the finally outcome, and why you are important in this meeting, right? It could be inviting a speaker, and then you have to tell why that person is important. So I think that that's the most important thing to touch base, and accordingly you can frame your text and language in a way with more of celebrating mode rather than reviewing mode. So let's move on to the new one, and I would invite Rasika for this. This is very important. Most of us, the first impression is last impression. So this is Rasika is going to discuss. This is the key. If I get your networking request, I don't have any information, I may not respond, or I may respond, but never talk to you. So let's go to Rasika and listen about
Yeah.
this one.
Thank you, Pawan. Yes, this is very important. That LinkedIn connection note is extremely important. I have seen and I have received so many just random, like, okay, I'm just connecting, or like the message which is displayed on the slide that, hey, I would like to add to my professional network on LinkedIn. This is a default message which is given by LinkedIn. And this is how people just tend to forward the same message. Maybe I may not be interested, like who is like forwarding the typical message. So while connecting the so again, like while connecting, you are connecting with the LinkedIn, make sure again it's a 300 character message. Okay, so make sure that you are using that 300 character very precisely, wisely, and put your customized personalized message while connecting anyone on the LinkedIn. So here there are some examples which we have displayed to whenever you are connecting. So there are different possibilities. These are just 4 examples which we have displayed, that it might be a potential employer, it might be alumni with whom you are connecting on the LinkedIn, it may be someone who you want to meet and during the event or any conference, anything. So how you should use these examples. So again, like there are some points to remember while putting a LinkedIn note, that as I said, it's a 300 powerful characters, so use it precisely and wisely. Give reference, like what are you exactly, if anything is in common, don't forget to mention that, which will make a personal connection. What is your reason for connection? And one which is big no no while putting a LinkedIn connection note, don't ask for favors at the first go while connecting on the LinkedIn. I think these are the critical points when you are putting a LinkedIn connection notes. Pawan, do you want to add something more
Yeah,
onto it?
I think that the one important point is people, it's a psychological that once you add a note, there is a high chance that your person you are sending the LinkedIn connection is going to text you back, and that remains a history in your future communication. After 6 months, when ask, I want to ask Ganesh and something, then a person knows that okay, there was a communication. So that's like your first relationship. So I think use it wisely, don't be lazy, and it's very important. Just keep a common, you can design a common note and you can keep on sending to everyone which you want. So let's move on to uh, the look at the summary and what is the common and differences between different type of communication. So as we have been discussing, I think you have here on the columns different type of request, and on the rows you have who are you. So this is very important in all of them except LinkedIn notes. So you're not going to describe who are you in detail because it will take all of your words. Purpose is very important across, and why you is very important in informational, not in informational interview and notes, because you're not asking much. But in others, it's very important that why should I give you job invitation, collaboration, or inquiring position. Um, and then expectation background, you can see most important thing is this flowery words like appreciation. This is common in networking. If you don't appreciate me, I don't care who you are, right? This is natural human tendency, and you cannot deny. We as a researcher, we often shy away from appreciating, but in a world, even you like or I like appreciation, I may not appreciate others. So this is so common. So I would kind of invite panelists if they have some comments to make, short comments for the this component of discussion. Maybe go with Rajesh.
Yeah. Hi. Hello. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, I agree with Pawan. This is a very common thing that the flowery words to be used and appreciation, and in the world where we get least appreciated, and so that's
Yeah,
one of the most common things that we need to do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Deepak, want to
agree
add
with you
something?
greatly.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Yeah. I think it's very good compilation of how your approach changes between different modes of communication and what is the end purpose of your email. So between informational interview to inquiring positions to collaborations to LinkedIn notes, you would see that the amount of communication that actually goes in the email changes. Since the amount of communication changes, so the content also changes and the representation also changes. In a LinkedIn note, as Rasika put up earlier, you have a limitation of the characters, which is specified by the company. So because of that, you cannot really put in too many things. So that is why you see that there is a very tightly regulated structure that you need to design for a LinkedIn note. But in contrast, if it is something like a job referral or collaboration or invitation, feel free. The most important point is here you're trying to build up a network. So as Pawan rightly pointed out, once you're trying to build up a network, you need to show your inclination. The way you show inclination is taking an interest in the opposite person. And how do you show that? By appreciating them, by appreciating the position, by appreciating the company, by appreciating the university, whatever it may be. So I think that's the way about it.
Yeah. And then one quick question to Pawan. What can you explain what the orange part means?
So orange part is like maybe, may not be. Thank you, Ninad. So this is like in background. Sometimes we go on describing our background like anything. We love describing our past, easy, right? Because you remember it. So, but it is, you have to be careful, If you know the person, you kind of, you think that this, I mean, it varies person to person. That's why we have maybe, may not. That's your own discretion. But I would say be precise. Don't go too much detail. I don't have a job. I just want job, and I lost my job. I mean, people, just like Deepak said in the beginning, may sympathize, but they don't care. This is the truth, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a
So
professional world. Don't try to be personal
correct.
and give a lot of background.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then really nicely explained by all of our panelists. One key part about networking emails is introducing yourself politely, asking for help, because most people are really willing to share their experiences if you just ask them politely. But at the same time, you need to be very mindful about their time because they are very busy professionals. They want to help you. So you make it really easy for them to give you feedback. And that's the key about asking these networking components, networking emails, is ask for their help, keeping in mind their busy time. Give them like 24 hours to 1 week to respond back, and then follow up politely. And then everyone, I have received many requests with the LinkedIn note and things like that, and I'm very happy to share my experiences because that's kind of the part of this webinar as well. All of us are willing to help, let you know how we came here. So just being polite and mindful of the other person's time is very important. And with that networking part covered, next step is very important, that is putting in the actual applications made before research fellow, PhD, postdoctoral position, or a position in industry. Very often your networking sets the base for your applications, and then but you still have to submit a strong email with that application that is often forwarded to the HR and then the hiring manager and things like that. So for that, I would invite our next panelist for taking into this session. Deepak?
Yeah, thanks, Nanath. So most of us who make academic applications have the essential technical skill set for the target job. But a good percentage of the applicants do not make the cut because they do not present their skill set well. The concept of one size fits all is certainly not true in academic applications either. So someone who is applying for a research fellow or a trainee position versus someone who is applying for a PhD position versus a postdoc position will have to showcase their skills very differently in order to get noticed. Now, the beginning of your email is the face of the email. It will define whether the receiver is interested in reading further or not. So you have to ensure that the opening of the email is clean and crisp, but conveys the essential information. Now, regardless of the position being applied for, the key factor that does not change is having a proper salutation and introducing yourself. If you're applying for a research fellow or a trainee position, which is basically a junior position, the employer does not have time to read through lengthy emails. So he will just skim through your email. So come to the point directly by saying that you wish to apply for the position. But if it is a PhD or a postdoc position, the employer has time because he wants someone who can fit into the lab culture and the research direction. So here you can give a brief about your academic background, although further description can be made in the main text. You will also notice that the length of the introduction also changes between the three applications. Now, once we are through with the introductions, let's understand from Anurag the differences in the main body between the emails for different academic positions.
Thank you, Deepak. So as Deepak has already explained, that research trainee is someone who is going there. So this is
Anurag, we cannot hear you very clearly. Can you be a little loud?
can you hear me? Hello. Yeah. Okay. So as Deepak already explained about research training, the research training is someone who is looking to apply for a work in the lab for a very short duration. So it doesn't need to be you have to present all your skills. But when it comes to the PhD and postdoc, a PhD will be staying in the lab for at least 4 years in the prospective lab. So you need to explain very well that how you are connected to the lab and what are kind of skills you can present. So that is what is it is written, that you have to focus on your skills, because when we are studying in our bachelor's and masters, we are learning a lot of subjects. So if, let's say example, that if I'm applying to immunology lab, I should highlight that I have studied this subject or have worked in this area. Now coming to the postdoc part, when we talk about the postdoc application part, all these things what I covered in the PhD should all be there, but also try to include your transferable skills. For example, when you are doing a PhD, you have guided some master students for their thesis. You have been part of the lab organization. You have been, let's say you have been the captain of your football team in your in your university. So these things shows that you have leadership skill, you have organizational skills. So this will help you. And to how to conclude in a very positive way, I would invite Dr. Prajesh for this part. Prajesh.
Okay. Perhaps this is the most ignored part of the email, and the closing remark is something that you need to focus on. And in this, people need to say why the PI needs to call you. And perhaps you need to explain at the end, at the conclusion, that the target lab that you are applying, you should first tell them a thank you, and then you should say that how they are useful. And that's the skill you have to say when you are at a higher position, like for example, applying for a PhD, applying for a postdoc. Perhaps a trainee wouldn't have been so much vital to explain that. But I would say that the most important thing is that you have to say that you have attached your CV, you have attached your cover letter, and then you say why you need to take me in this lab. So that's one of the conclusions that you need to make. And I would conclude the slide by saying that by the 3 R's. The first R, reciprocate. The second R, recall. And the third R, remind. And these 3 R's, you can tell them, the PI, that you remind them that, yes, please call me, recall, so that they remember and reciprocate, tell them a thank you. And next, I move on to Pawan for the industry job application. Thank you.
Thank you, Prajis, and all the panelists. So that was a part of kind of more of academic. It may apply to anyone. It's not just science. You may be MBA, BTech, any kind of profession. So here comes industry, which anyone wants. All the STEM community may want to go to industry. Here, the psychology, the expectations are totally different. And this is what we generally get to hear. I've been in industry 2 years before I move on to postdoc at WashU. So they will say, of course, they will tell. Sometimes they may not tell, but many times they will tell that what they are doing, and they're looking for a job in esteemed company. So many flowery words. So, and then you say you post a lot, and I thought to contact you. And then they'll describe I'm very poor, or I don't have a job, I have a loan to pay. Please understand my situation, as if I'm their boyfriend or girlfriend. So, and then they will describe, okay, please take my CV, and can I call you for a discussion? This is like suicide for a job. You don't want a job if you write like this. So what you should write, as we have been discussing, of course, you have to maintain the universal rules of email writing where you have all other components. But something which is very important when you ask for the job. So if a HR or a hiring manager want to look at your profile, so the first important thing, as we discussed, networking. Without networking, you may have experience, nobody responds to your email, you apply on portal, whatever you do, nobody cares. But once you get a chance, you ask for email ID after networking and you write something. There are 2-3 things. Whom you're gonna apply most of time? To HR say go to portal. But most of time the employee or a person who is a hiring person, because in industry you have a hiring manager, that is HR. But if I'm a scientist, I'm going to hire you. So my decision is a supreme. The HR may not decide that. So if you are writing a scientist or any senior person, you have to be, again, professional there to say that, okay, you describe all your background as they covered in academic, but there is something here, it changes. That in the CV, the person who is going to hire is expert in that field. So you don't have to directly say that, please hire me. You have to say that, could you share my CV to hiring manager? He may direct you again, or because he cannot directly hire, HR has to contact and hire you. There is a process. Even if I'm a scientist, I'm going to hire you. I cannot just directly say, come and join. It has to go through the process. So if I forward your CV to hiring manager, manager arranges a call, that's a key. So you have to request the person, can you send my CV to hiring manager? This is different than the academia. And then you don't expect that person is going to give a job. So you will ask that person's feedback, and feedback is how it is important. So if you ask me something, what is your opinion on my CV, on your profile? If my opinion is not good, you can expect that I'm not going to hire you, right? So you get a different way of negative response. That maybe I'm not good fit for this position. So you don't have to wait for it and get frustrated, right? So this is a different way of communicating, where you ask for a feedback. If my feedback is good, you can be confident, but don't be overconfident and start chatting informally, right? So, so these two things are very important, that you ask for a feedback, which is gonna give you idea about what is the future outcome. So keep it in mind, and other things also which they have discussed about applications. So with this, we are reaching to the summary, and I'll give it back to the Deepak and other panelists who have been talking. So Deepak, can you take this and discuss with us?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, so this is a brief summary of again applications that you make. Now, as with networking, here you find that it depends particularly what is your target, like your target job, your target audience, who is going to read the mail, whether he or she has time, all those things. It depends on that. So, application for research trainee or fellow is very similar to applications at the level of industry. Now, in industry also, you keep getting a lot of emails because a number of people are willing to transition to industry. So because they get a lot of emails, they just skim through. And also with academic universities, at least, like, most of the applications are either read by the supervisors or they're not read. With industry, what the other problem that comes up is most of the established industries have these tracking softwares which are looking for some keywords. So if those keywords are not included in your email, then regardless of your skills, regardless of your talent, you will not be considered. So they will directly skim through your email. So a couple of things that are essential is stating who are you, what is your background, all those things are important, but you can be more detailed only for PhD or postdoc based applications, because the employer in this particular case is actually looking to establish a relation with you. So he needs to be very comfortable with you. He needs to have a similar mindset. Only then he or she is hiring you. Sorry, one last deviation that I would like to mention is there are also PhD or postdoc positions that are available in industry. So if you're applying for those kind of position, you need to understand that those applications cannot be too lengthy as compared to academic PhDs or postdocs. So they have to be a bit on point, uh, similar to industry applications. Maybe Anurag or Prajesh can discuss further on this.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. Okay, so okay, just now I got a question about for PhD. How can we inquire about the scholarship? Most of the PhD in abroad are funded projects, so you don't have to ask for the scholarship, and they are advertised there. And I will come to one of the point is like consider yourself as a product you are going to sell as a to the customer. So think about what they want, not what you have. So try to project all your skills which are beneficial to them. Not like, okay, I have 1,000 skills and I can do a lot of stuff, but what he is looking for, focus on that part. And when it comes to the attachment, I would like to add here, because there has to be a little bit difference from PhD and postdoc. And in especially in European countries, it is preferred that a postdoc is sending a attachment, a cover letter where he writes in detail, and the cover letter has to be very formal, and it should be in the letterhead. One could ask that I don't have a letterhead. You do have, you can make your own letterhead. You are working at a, you are doing a PhD at a particular university, so you can use the name of the university and use the logo, and then sign it like properly and put your signature. That makes the application much more professional. And talk about a little bit about the details, like what are the specific skill and what are the specific interest, as Prajesh also mentioned. So that is what I would say, that talk about it, how you are connected to this particular lab. So I think Prajesh can also share his thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you, Anurag. I mean, one of the things that I would say that the most important is why you. I mean, you have to understand the perspective of a PI, a prospective PI, whom you're applying, and you have to understand the skills, why you, and why you is the one of the most important, because there is thousands and thousands of applications coming every day, and I do review many applications, and I see that many of them don't emphasize why you. So make that, and also don't forget the conclusions and the attachments. Please always direct the PI or any person you're applying, make them easy because they are very busy people. So make very easy for them to navigate your application.
Yeah. So another last part I would add, if you have time. So most of time, application we see lot of flowery words. I am indebted to you if you take my application and take my interview. I'm going to touch your feet. I'm going to be your servant. I mean, don't do that. You may think from coming from our culture, we have to be respectful and all blah blah blah. Nobody cares. And even especially in India, maybe do you know who cares about these things? You have to be flowery words and trying impress. But even in India, the young PIs don't like it. They know that you are trying to be actually not trying to be realistic and professional. So flowery words, no in application. Don't do that.
Can I
And that
quickly add
counts.
one point?
Yeah.
That if you have a multiple position in industry application, treat each like application as an individual application. Don't put multiple position in the same application. Okay, like you have to remember that point. Generally,
Yeah.
I've seen people putting scientist and senior scientist position at the same application. Don't do that. Okay, treat each position as an individual application, as different people must be dealing with the different positions.
Yeah, that's like spamming. I mean, like is spamming the emails actually.
It's a copy pasting. We prepare one cover letter, one email, change the dear doctor, and then they change the little background, send it.
Yeah.
People come to know. People are
And
humans. We are
and
dealing with
and in
humans.
United States and other places, scientists do know that students do this.
Yes.
So be aware of
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
And one more point I would like to add about the like flowery words. Similarly, what people do is they write a lot about their skills, that I am a hardworking, I am a positive oriented, blah blah blah. When you write these things, when a reader, when a scientist is reading, he understand that you are just trying to show. If you have some skills, just like I gave you the example, if you have guided some students, talk about that, it automatically translate to that you are referring toward the point that you have the leadership skill and guiding skill and project management skill. So those things should be written via this way, not directly explicitly saying that, oh, I am a hardworking person, I am a very reliable, I am a trustworthy. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
I think
Yeah.
so.
One
With
one
that,
last thing. Sorry,
yeah,
Pawan. One last thing I just wanted to add. So I agree with Anurag. So I have, in my experience, generally coming from India, I find that people are usually in two classes. One is people who are very underconfident about their skills. So they might have completed the postdocs and AP positions and all of that, but they still feel that they're not done enough. And there are people who have just completed the bachelor's and they feel that they've conquered the world. So
yeah,
the difference is you need to, I mean, like before you write an email for these kind of positions, I would suggest that something that I have also done is maybe take a paper, a plain A4 paper, or take a whiteboard and just write down your experiences, write down the things that you feel that are skills, and just match it to the position that you're trying to apply for. So don't list out everything. Like, some people who are in bachelor's, I found that in the PhD emails, they've written that I used to do stamp collection. So this is not required. This is not required. It is very funny in a PhD application email, but in a postdoc email, if you describe some extracurricular activities and how it transcends to the position that is being applied for, it makes sense. So maybe do a mind mapping or something as to how your skills suit better to the job before you actually draft the email and hit send.
yeah. I think this is very important, and we plan to in future sessions cover more comprehensively about such application, because you can understand how difficult it is to cover everything within this short time. So with that, don't be kind of discouraged if you're not getting everything. We'll surely cover in future, going individually or cover later, how to design, how to LinkedIn profile, how to do CV, so many things like we can echo because we have gone through it. So with that, let's move on to um, next part of it. So a second. So then comes the universal rules. Just to catch a reminder, so that this is very important. So maybe Deepak or maybe Deepak can go with Deepak and Prajesh could go for universal
Yeah.
rules.
Sure, Prajesh,
Yeah,
would you want
sure,
to?
sure. Yeah, sure. See, these are one of the most universal rules of email crafting. Like, you need to be polite. Use a professional email address. Don't use like qtpie@gmail.com. Don't use a subject line saying that, hi, hello, how are you? So that is not have a clear subject line. Which position you're applying. Mention the numbers that which position you have addressed to. Write your name, like CV and other stuff. And always remember there is a way of saying, addressing the person, like dear doctor. If it is a professor, it's dear professor. Always know the proper salutations, and don't forget your signature. And especially, this is a real life example. I was going through a master's student, and I was guiding through just 2 days back, and this person had written a convoluted email and was redirecting the attachment in a very wrong way to this PI, and the PI was not able to get it. So there was a frequent mails up and down. And then finally, I had to guide him to say that the PI needs to know this. And that's what the including attachment and mentioning it in an email and directing them to the right place. And keep your emails short and crisp, especially you're writing to United States for in most of the places, because PIs don't have time. They want to read short emails, but be precise and concise.
Yeah.
And do check your typos. Do use Grammarly sometimes, like to check in case, or put it in a Word document. It will check it out for you and review it, check it, spellings, punctuation, and always reciprocate and be grateful. That's the punchline.
Yeah. So Deepak, do you have something to add?
So I think I think Prajesh covered everything. So basically, I just wanted to add two things. One is that when we say that this is universal rules of email crafting, it is universal rules. So when you write any form of a document, send an email, send a note. This even applies to something like Twitter. Like, of course, in Twitter, you may not have something like email address and all of that, but then the concept of keeping it short and crisp, the concept of being courteous, all these things apply even there. So regardless of the kind of emails or notes that you're sending, whether it is for networking purposes, whether it is for academic applications or industrial applications, you need to follow these universal rules. Deviation from these rules is not really appreciated. That is one thing. The second thing is there might be some variations based on cultural boundaries or geographical boundaries. So you need to consider that. Like, I think our previous session covered certain aspects of using salutations like dear XYZ versus respected XYZ, for example, or the length of the email. So these kind of things you need to keep into consideration. But most of all, just remember these all these rules whenever you're drafting anything.
Yeah, I mean that's very much true. So with that, Prajesh has designed this nice summary slide for this session. I would invite Prajesh to just take us through that. What does it?
Okay, so this is the concluding slide. This is a small cartoon which concludes what we were saying till now. Remember, when you're applying, whether you're a PhD, whether you're a PhD, whether you're a postdoc, whether you're a master's student, you have to start early. This is the message that we are saying, that whether you're inquiring for a position, network. Whether you're applying for a postdoc, network. Whether you're applying for a job, network. So the networking and application go hand in hand. And when you just like all of us, we all have a dream of getting some position somewhere, and then finally we move step by step. In the storms of so many problems, we finally end up getting our dream job, and that's based on how we apply properly with proper etiquettes and network. You get feedback, you get feedback from your peers, take suggestions, and finally, I would say that this is the message that we are trying to convey, whether you want to go to academia or whether you want to go to industry.
Yes. So with that, thank you, Prajesh, for kind of summarizing it. And I hope all the participants have got the message. With that, now we'll move on to question. I'll request Ninad. He's been looking at questions and compiling. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have been getting a lot of questions on Zoom chat as well as YouTube Live. And then we have a lot of questions to cover as well. So we will try to request all the panelists to have very concise and direct answers so that we can cover most of the questions. And I will start with our first question, which actually came in last week, but we didn't have time to cover. Was which is the best time of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, to send emails to scientists? And maybe Deepak, you can jump in to answer.
Okay, so there's no specific time of the day that is like, that's the ideal time. Generally, like, in our experience, what we found is that generally scientists like to complete their job towards the end of the day. So like, they are well scheduled in the early part of the day, and they are not very well scheduled as in they're free towards the later part of the day. So an email that is received in the afternoon or in the evening is responded to versus an email that is sent in the morning. But again, this is not one size fits all concept. You also need to consider your time zones. So if you're mailing across time zones, your morning might not be their morning. So do consider that as well.
Perfect. Yeah. Our next question is about the writing CV and the feedback, or actually sharing your CV during the informational networking purposes. If you send them the CV, won't it be more burden to the receiver of that email? And then shouldn't you just get the feedback on your CV from your peers?
No, so I'll tell you, you definitely get the peers feedback. That is before you send for a job or anything. But you have to use in non-tangible, like, which are like indirect way, right? So don't think that if I get a CV, giving a feedback is a burden. If that is the case, anyways, I'm not going to respond to you. So it's like a litmus test. If you're
Yeah,
communicating to someone, you just people be happy, to give feedback. Of course, some
exactly.
may have bad experience, but most of time it may take time. Don't buzz them. You send TV today, and next third day you ask, "Can you send me feedback?" Don't do that, because I'm not
Correct.
going to give you. If you are so hurry, that means I'm not. Nobody wants to be. People are busy. People have their own time. You want a good
Correct.
feedback.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I
inquiring
agree.
is very
Yeah, so
important.
you should
Yeah.
get your CV in the perfect shape by just sending it to your peers. But then when you send it to your information interview person, they will be more than happy to help you out. And also, it's a good way to show your skills to them so that they can consider you for referring the next time they see a job opening that matches your
Yeah.
experience. So it's certainly asking them to review your CV for a job without letting them know you're looking for a job by having their feedback on the CV. That's a nice way to ask for help. So
Yeah.
next question is, maybe Jason can answer this as well, is applying as a trainee, should you mention the duration that they want to work for?
Yes, they should definitely mention the duration that they want to work for, because this will give an idea to the scientist as to what projects can be given to this particular candidate. So definitely one should mention the duration of their project.
Great. Yeah. And
I,
then in addition to this question, there was also a question earlier about applying for PhD is asking for scholarship if not mentioned on the lab website. And for both these positions, it is okay to ask for fellowship positions. Some PhD positions are under a program or a larger umbrella of applications, so PIs don't have control over it. But for some universities, and especially for trainee positions, it is okay to ask for if you can apply. So you show the willingness that you want to apply for a fellowship to get funding and ask the assistance of that PI if they can help you in writing such an application, or just ask them if there is funding available so that you can do that fellowship or do the PhD. So it is perfectly okay to ask that. So there is a question about STEM care that I will ask Pawan is how can people connect with iSTEM care for career guidance? There was another question about how can they long-term get career mentorship from iSTEM care, and how can they connect with other people on part of iSTEM care? So I think Pawan has answers to all of these questions.
yeah. So Let me take the first one. I think the summary is that how can they get long-term and mentoring help from us, like as
Correct.
an organization. So here is the thing. So we do have a plan of, I mean, typically, like if you want immediate help, the best way you write us on our email ID. That's the best way. Our email ID is there everywhere. You can text on Slack or ask on a Gmail. You are added to the group. We will assign a person who will be talking to you and helping you out. Okay. But one thing you have to understand, that you have to be patient. If you just ask and go, it's not that I'm going to have a magic bullet and I'll just put in and roll it and you get the job or you get a perfection, right? So we do have a plan. The immediate answer is go to our email ID, just text whatever problem you have. That's it. You don't have to do any kind of registration or anything. For the long term, we are going to create a portal website where you can register, you can have your account, you can chat with people, and that's the structure is evolving uh, in months to come. So, but immediately go for just send an email.
Correct. Yeah, perfect. And yeah, so like I also mentioned in chat, all of us are also on LinkedIn. So if you write a nice LinkedIn connection note, we will be happy to respond to you as well.
And
One,
we will send them email, the LinkedIn link,
correct.
the detail on their Gmail. So don't worry, we'll send a summary
Right.
email.
Yeah. So speaking of LinkedIn, I have a few questions that I've collected for Rasika, since she talked about LinkedIn as well. So first question is, do you need a LinkedIn premium account, or if you don't have one, can you send a connection request and notes to anyone you want? Second is it important to have a good LinkedIn or ResearchGate profile? And if someone is not like you're not able to send a connection note on LinkedIn, what can you do? So, Rasika?
Okay, so thank you, Ninad. Answering first question, whether you should have premium. Most of the people they may not have premium, so you don't need to have a premium account for the LinkedIn. If you get one, it's good. If you don't have one, it's okay. How can you send the note? If you, as far as my experience is concerned, if you log in through the laptop or your computer desktop, you could able to add a note while you are sending a connection. There is a option where you get add note. I think you can add a note. I think with a app, that is a mobile app, you may not, but anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. So that is the way you have to put the note, and I would always encourage that. I personally feel that whenever I'm getting a connection, I will always make sure if that person has put the note, I will take an effort to go check, and then only I'll accept the LinkedIn connection. Otherwise, I'm really reluctant to accept the LinkedIn connection if there is no note. That's my experience. And another, what was another question? Is it good to have a LinkedIn, good profile on LinkedIn?
Right.
Yes. Take an effort, check other LinkedIn profile. There are online resources which are available where you can, how you can improvise your LinkedIn profile. How So we are going to connect, if I'm not wrong, we are going to conduct another session on how to improve your LinkedIn profile and all. That
Yeah,
would be another
yeah,
agenda. But yes, having a good LinkedIn, because that's your face, that what you have done, what is you're professionally up to. So I think
yeah.
that's a very good way to portray yourself. So I will always recommend to have a good, I hope I have answered all the questions.
Just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to add 2 cents, about LinkedIn Premium. You don't need it. It's a hoax. You pay it, you don't get it. I have done it. Don't do it. Second thing, if some premium account don't allow you to send them any message. Okay. Here is the thing. What I do, you just follow them. There is a follow button. You follow. Go to their post chat box. In the chat and the post, you appreciate and then ask, can I get your email ID? You want to connect. It's not doesn't necessarily to be on LinkedIn. And another mistake people do on LinkedIn, many people may have their email ID on LinkedIn profile. They go and steal the email ID and directly email. That's very bad. You have to ask it, even if it's there. Like you see in my house, there is something there. You can see you need it. You don't steal it and take it. I want it. No, you ask it. And if I give you my email ID, more likely I'm going to respond to you. So that three things, I think I go into one additional one. So
Yeah,
that's very important. Yeah.
great. Yeah, perfect. So next we have a question. Maybe Anurag can answer this. Is about sending follow-up email for applying for position. So if they don't respond in the first email, uh, and say that we don't have the position available right now, but maybe ask next year, or if they haven't responded at all. So how can you follow up on these scenarios when you write an email?
Thank you, Ninath. The first thing is we need to learn the patience, because most of the students, what they do, they send an email, 24-hour, no response, they send another email and they just spam. And even if a person is willing to respond, they won't. So at least give, like, if you have to send a reminder email, please wait at least 1 week, because professors are really busy. Sometimes they take their time to respond. And if someone is not responding after 2 or 3 reminders, then think it is not done. Don't go after that person for like every other day, please reply to my email. And when you ask for the reminder, do send in the same thread that dear professor, I know you will be busy, this is just a reminder, a basic reminder, please revert to my email, something like that, nothing more, nothing less. And if someone is saying that I don't have a position right now, then don't just hinge on that person that, oh, please give me the position. It's fine, you can always find other person, because most of the time the like sometimes the response is very genuine, sometimes it is a good way to divert you that I'm not interested in you. So
Right.
Yeah.
think in this
Yeah.
way also. Don't
Yeah.
just hinge on someone, please refer to me some lab and other, because they can do it if they
Correct.
want
Yeah.
to.
I think Deepak
Yeah.
has something to add there.
Yeah. So Anurag, I think, has rightly mentioned. What I would there are 2 points that I would like to mention. One is that whenever you're writing follow-up emails where the response has not come, maybe a good way of, rather than using the word reminder, because reminder is usually, I mean, like, people at a higher position don't really like the word reminder from someone who's coming to the lab or is a junior person. So rather than using the word reminder, you can just say that I hope you have received my previous email, blah, 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 and then follow up with whatever you want to ask. So that is like an alternative clause for using instead of the word reminder. That is one thing. The second is, as Anurag pointed out, I wanted to reiterate that. So it is not as if every try will lead to success. Out of 10 people that you apply to or send emails to, there's a chance that one may respond, assuming that your invitation emails were quite good. So even with the most proficient of us, we don't really get 100% success rate. Even 50% success rate is a very big number. So don't really be disheartened, and don't keep, repeat reminding him, because get the message, 1 or 2 reminders or 2 or 3 reminders at the max. And if the person is not responding, move on to the next person.
I just add one more point with everything agreed to. What here is what I do. So when I'm reminding someone, I'll try to ask like this: can I help you with something? Do you want some more information? I mean, you don't have to. This is a different way of reminder.
Yeah.
Can I share some more information regarding this? So the
Yeah.
person gets to know, oh, this guy already sent something. So
Yeah.
this way, you're not gonna directly say, but you're saying, oh, did I miss something? Do you want more
Correct.
information? That's it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So our next question is for someone who wants to switch field for postdoc, for example, from cancer biology to neurobiology or clinical psychology, something like that, or the PI that is not in the same field as yours. So how can you ask for that? How can you write that email explaining your situation, but also your interest in the new field? So maybe Jason can answer this.
So in such a scenario, make sure that you are not projecting more about the theoretical part of your expertise, but you filter out the skills that may match according to the research area of the lab that you're targeting. For example, if you're a cancer biologist and you want to switch to clinical psychology, maybe you've worked on brain tumors, okay? So you just need to articulate your interest from brain tumors, and then just bring it in a transcend it into why you are now interested in clinical psychology. So that's where your creative way of writing would come to play. Yeah, so anyone else who wants to add
Yeah,
anything
I'll
else
add.
could
So
add.
I'll add.
Yeah.
So if you just come, if somebody comes to me, I come to you and say, you know what, I'm bored of this. I want to try something new. I am really interested in this thing, but why and how? Just because you are asking, I don't care. You are interested, fine. That's your interest. But here is what works. So if anything I want to do, let's take an example of your medical writing, right? So you want to transition from a postdoc or PhD level to medical writing. First thing, join a group who do medical writing. That's networking. Write some articles, join societies, write some freelancing things,
Yeah.
build your branding. The branding is very important. You have to develop your brand.
Yeah.
Nobody cares as an individual. Let's be professional, This is the world, is ruthless world. Accept
Right.
it. The
Yeah.
people
Maybe
care what
Prajesh
you
can.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Prajesh can also add something to this.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm a real life example where I worked in the field of solid cancer and I completely switched to liquid cancer. And the techniques, everything, concepts are completely different in liquid cancers. And it's a very real life example to the question that you asked. Especially the PI who hired me didn't look at exactly what I did. He looked at what I had. Can I learn? Do I have the ability to learn new things? Can I adopt? Can I adjust? So that something is seen as a very important quality, and it's something to be. It's the choice of the student, and it also depends on the PI who is hiring you. PIs are generally open-minded, but it also depends on the circumstances that you are applying. So you need to be very much flexible in yourself so that you can learn new things when you are applying to a field that you are not experienced.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a great advice. It's selling your soft skills and then focusing on why you're interested in your next field. I think that's the key. Our next question, actually, we have a few questions about LinkedIn, and I would again tell all our registrants is we will have a detailed LinkedIn webinar in near future. So please look out for that email as well as on all our social media platforms. But in brief, if you are connecting someone on LinkedIn through for informational networking and they don't really know you personally, can they still refer you for job referrals? And are job referrals like these very common for companies, or do we have to write to directly someone in the company for that? And why won't you just apply online and rather like wait for the job opportunity posted online or doing the job referral internally? So these are basically all relating to these LinkedIn requests. So any of the panelists actually can take up this question.
Yeah. So can I just give quickly
Absolutely.
multiple points to that?
You can go.
So yeah. So one thing that I have observed and also have experienced this quite often is that uh, both in academia and industry, about 80% of the jobs are not advertised. The advertisements that you actually see are actually already filled and then they are advertised. So in most cases, those advertisements that you see online are just for make-believe purposes. So you may end up making an application, but it will never get looked upon. So unless and until you are applying for a really high position, like, vice president and all of that, because then it is like very custom made, there is a very weak chance of you making an application through the HR portal and getting through. The idea behind networking and sending these LinkedIn notes and all of that is just so that you can expand the number of people who know you. Because what happens is that once you start building up your network, once you start knowing people, once you start knowing like the people in a different platform, whether it is in academia or whether it is in industry, don't really look at every individual connection as a job opportunity. Don't do that, because sometimes what happens is that, let's say I make an invitation to connect to say Prajesh. Okay, now Prajesh is not really the hiring person in his lab. Okay, but what Prajesh can do is he can give me information on a long-term basis. He can tell me, oh, I work in so and so lab, but there is one more lab that is located in my wing which has a recent opening, or I just heard about an opening that may come up in the next 1 month. So why don't you contact that supervisor? I can also put a good word for you. So this is the network building, and this is the advantage that it develops. Because I see a lot of questions popping up wherein people are asking that why network when you can directly apply? The question is, why apply when you can network? So do networking, because then you may not need to apply directly. You may just get into the job directly. Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that you may not believe it. Many time industry you are hired without application. Like you apply later once your interview is done.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
you
So I
may
think
not know it.
we are very much running out of time, but I do have a couple of questions that I think are very relevant, taking us back to email writing. First is how do we apply specifically for PhD positions? What are the contents of that email? We have gone over this, but again, if one of you can highlight the key points very quickly.
The email content you are saying?
Yeah, so email content for PhD, key points that you need to include for when you're applying for PhD position, especially you're giving JRE, but also applying to various PhD positions. So what are the key facts that you want to highlight?
Maybe Anurag can go for it.
Yeah.
Voices.
So Ninad, I would just list out few points which we have already gone through. The first thing is introduction is very important. Who you are, what you have done, why, and what is the objective of writing the email, because most of the people, they just forget to write this part and try to avoid this line that I found your name on the website. Better to just mention the lab which is working on that particular thing, already understood that you have found the thing on the website. So that is the first introduction paragraph. Main context should be how you can contribute to the lab, what are the things you are bringing, and how you are connected to that. And that, as Prajesh also pointed, so it could be like you can put it in the second paragraph or you can put it in the concluding paragraph, and show your skills which are valuable for you as well as for the lab. So because we have learned a lot of skills, but not all the skills will be helpful for that lab. And one point which I get a lot of question is, oh, I don't have this particular technique, can I apply? The professor are not looking for a technician, they are looking for a scientist. So you need to understand the science rather than knowing the technique you can always learn in your PhD, because PhD is a 4-year long rope. You can always learn and do mistake and then learn. So don't think about a particular technique, focus on the science part. So that is what I will say. And
correct.
And toward the end, don't forget to be thankful for their time, because most of the email I have seen, they don't write that part. They just write a single word, thank you.
Correct.
Maybe write thanks for your time and consideration, something like that, where you are thanking them. Something like that, because these are things appreciated by the Western people.
And then I think there are a lot more questions that are, I will just highlight that the questions about LinkedIn, we will plan to have a separate LinkedIn webinar. We have some questions about writing resume and cover letter. We will try to cover that in future as well, more directed. But since we are running out of time, I think at
Ninad, you're lost. So
free to email on the iSTEM Care ID.
Yeah, so
Hello?
I think we can, now we can hear you. So we can take maybe 2-3 participant questions directly if they want to ask, like within quick one, if somebody has. You can unmute and ask your question directly.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Sorry, somebody else.
Yeah. Lisa or Prachi
Yeah.
can go. Like, yeah.
Okay,
Who
Lisa,
is
go ahead.
going? Prachi. Okay. Prachi can go
All right,
first.
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
All right, I'll go ahead. I'm Lisa.
Yeah.
I had a question in mind. A few seconds ago, so was talking about presenting ourselves, presenting our skills, and how we can adapt those skills or learn those skills, not necessarily have those skills in advance during the due course of PhD, right?
Yeah.
So in those cases, if we have skills which are not really certified, which we can't really write down in our CV, how do we present them?
Yeah, that's very important. Let me take
Uh,
this.
I
I think.
can take it. I can take that. I can take that. So
Okay.
I will give you a very real life example. I mean, in my current lab, flow cytometry is one of the most common techniques in the lab, and I have never used it. So, but in my email, I wrote the things that I already knew to my PI, and when I got hired, she told me that flow cytometry was not required anyway. You could have already learned in the lab. But the most important thing was, are you eager to learn? And you don't have to mention it in the email saying that this you know, that you know. You may not know the techniques and you may not know the things that are mentioned in the advertisement, but you may know something that the PI may want to see. So that's something you can say about yourself. That's my advice.
Let me be specific. Like, I think the question is here, like, if you have learned but you don't have a certification, how do you get it? So here is the thing. You cannot make something which is not there. Okay. So if you think that you can get it. Like online, there are training program, workshop, just attend it, get it. But if you're still not, present the proof of evidence that you know it. What is the proof? In different situation may be different. Like, for example, if I am starting to go for a writing position, a medical writing, what I'll do, I will volunteer for an organization who is new in writing, right? And they will write for me that this person has been writing for me, and there will be online articles for me. Similarly, you may attend workshop. I may not have done imaging in my whole life, but I have attended 3 workshops. So those are certificates. I may not do it, but these freelancing work, use freelancing. Go out, ask for work, get it, and then people will write recommendation for you, for whom you have worked, right? So I think that would give you an indirect way of presenting an evidence. We can go to Prachi, has wanted to speak.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a couple of questions all in the same direction regarding the job application. So when I'm writing to, for example, I'm planning to apply to a company for any position, I try to find people on LinkedIn and I just send them a note saying that I want to connect and discuss these things because you worked here. Okay, that works fine. They connect. But then once I ask them, thinking about they're working in this field, I'm this student and I want to know more about the opportunities in their company, it's like they always come up with the point that check on the career portal. So it never
Yeah, yeah,
gets across that part. So that's
yeah,
one. So you asked about talking to people, asking them referrals. Second thing was, I'm not sure how referrals work, because if I am not, like, somebody's not really a good friend of mine or somebody, if I'm already confident with someone, I can just say, can you refer me to a company? But if I'm not in connection with that person, then how can I ask somebody to refer me, and why would somebody refer me? I know you said something about this, that they get paid. I'm not sure about it, but why still they will refer me? So I'm a bit confused about how to approach people to go
yeah.
through the networking part to find a job.
So I'll tell you, this is where you said correctly. You send a note and you say that I'm looking for a job. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. When you meet me first time, I don't want to know you want. If you just directly ask for a job, you have to be patient. So suppose you today send me a note, Nick who connected my network. You have to give time, maybe 15 days. You follow up my postings, you comment appreciative words, then your name is in my mind, right? I see this person just connected, it's kind of on the chat liking my post. And then after 15 days, you come, I have been looking at you have to appreciate first, and then you go softer, that I have been looking for this position and I think you may be able to help me. First ask. If person says yes or no, I will help you, then you send the details. Now they will tell you go to job portal. Then the moment they say to you go to job portal, forget about that person. Just say thank
No,
you
I
so much.
think,
I will look into it. And
yeah,
So
then
I,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
like to,
Deepak, go ahead.
I would like to mention something here. So uh, think of something that, like, when we grow up, what happens is that the tendency of making friends actually drops down. So generally we look at people, newer people, not in a friendly manner. What we look at is opportunity. So that is where the problem comes. So as you rightly mentioned, you send a LinkedIn note, and then the second thing that you do is, if you ask for a job opportunity, you are looking for, that's the value of the person that you're putting out to. So he's just a
Correct.
stepping stone for you. The moment you consider that person like that, then the person will also say, reciprocate in a similar tone, just direct you to the HR portal. So maybe don't do that. What you should do is take an interest. So take an interest in something that he has posted, take an interest on
Correct.
something that he shares regularly, take an interest in something that, maybe his position, maybe his experience, something. So appreciate him on that. Ask for some tips on, like, how to improve so and so skills. So maybe he is, that particular person may have shown that he's a manager in that particular company and he has shown his experience. Ask that, how can I improve my skills for
Correct.
those and skills that you have? So take an interest, like, don't just use that person as a stepping stone. Networking
Right.
does not mean that you just make friends and then use them as stepping stones. So
Right.
take an
So,
interest,
yeah,
and after you achieve that level of trust, then you ask for something more. Don't jump in.
correct. Yeah, and one thing I would add is, once you approach someone on LinkedIn, they already know that because they are interested in applying into a company, that's when they're asking. So we already know that someone is reaching out to ask for more information. So if you directly ask for a job, that is the information that we already know. So instead, what you should do is do some research first of the company on their job portal. Say, these are the different positions I think I am interested in. Can you help me identify how can I write my application, or uh, how can I improve my application for my CV to apply for this job? So you ask for their help, and then in the process, if they offer you that, okay, I can refer you for a position, then great. Don't ever ask for it. So it's usually something that you wait for them to offer. If they don't offer, then it is okay not to, or just ask if they have an internal referral process that you can make use of. Never ask
yeah,
directly. And then the second thing is, try to find something common, that I did the same postdoc or same field, cancer genomics, as yours, and now I'm looking to transition. And I think I look at your profile, you have done really nice transitioning from the genomics field into this company. So how can I be like you? And if you try to ask that question, then they are more willing to talk about themselves. And then when you ask more about talking about themselves, that also means they are more interested in helping you succeed to their level,
Can I
and they
yeah,
will
quickly add?
automatically refer you
Yeah.
for the job.
Can I quickly add something into it, that whenever you are writing for a referral or whatever, like, connection, take a look at what is their position. Don't write to CEO or a
yeah,
director,
Jessica.
senior director. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So
Yeah, I
Jessica, I
think,
think you're
So much,
losing.
Deepak.
Yeah,
If I can just follow up on that. So you asked about that I should not, yes, I should not use them as a stepping stone. I should probably talk to them first. So how long is that honeymoon period basically? So how long I'm supposed to talk before I can, like, for example, if I'm in a position that I'm
yeah.
aggressive.
I mean, there depends on the
So
person. You have to.
some honeymoons
Yeah,
last very long, some honeymoons last very short. So it's completely upon you. So it completely
yeah.
depends on the passion of your sort of interaction. So sometimes you find that common note, and that common note actually, like, strikes fire. So sometimes it happens very quickly, sometimes it may take ages. So it completely depends on the situation.
I'll tell Prachi this thing. Let's take this. We discussed networking, we discussed informational interview, and then we discussed about referral and inquiry. So let's do first two things: networking, informational interview. In this process, you will come to know the she or he is want to help you. if you don't do these two things proper, third thing is not going to happen. And even if you do it, it's futile exercise. It's just frustrating. So I think that would cover, if you think that way, that I mean, depends on a person, as Deepak said, how much is you have to access and judge a person. So let's move on. Maybe we have a lot of time. Prachi, did you got your answer?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
I
thank you.
just have one more, but I don't know if you have time to take that.
We have, I think, running out of time already. 15-minute extra. You can
Yeah, okay,
write on our
guys on
email.
email.
We'll take it
Yes,
from
yes.
our.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Okay.
you.
And then,
Ninad, so,
we will also be on Slack channels for direct quick interactions, as well as other email or LinkedIn options. So you can always. And one question actually I missed earlier, I can quickly take that, is it okay to reach out scientists on Twitter? And I would say it is perfectly okay. Many scientists now who are active on Twitter pages
yeah.
are as active like one would be on Twitter, on LinkedIn. So it is okay, but again, follow the professional, because it's a Twitter messaging doesn't mean you just say hi and then don't respond for a week. You just write a completely detailed message, not too long, but very precise about why you're reaching out for that interaction, and then ask for their email Twitter is like the first step, and then try to expand that interaction into an email conversation. So ask for that interaction and then as a gateway into their email, and then follow that up later.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And so with that, I think, yeah, Pawan can briefly talk about going forward steps.
Yeah. So I think we tried to cover, and if we did not cover, please allow us. Can we see the take of time and time, and it's kind of running out of it. We certainly want to answer. Write us on our email ID. We'll send you feedback form. You can there will be a section you can put your questions remaining. If we did not cover it. We had a lot of things. And then I would request you to follow us on our social media pages. We'll be there posting our regular things or maybe informational content. Some of your answer maybe we'll share some nice article on our pages. So it would be good that if you follow there and be updated. We will also requesting, since we are new, if this sessions help you, if you can write a note on our LinkedIn page, Facebook page, that how these sessions help you, that would be great, because we need to reciprocate. That's what we have been talking. So if you reciprocate that, we will be more enthusiastic next time, coming up with more people, more diverse content in real life. And if you have, as I said, reiterating, any help, email us. You will get a response. That's all of us, our promise. So don't worry, we are not going to keep you as a spammer. We'll respond to you. With that, thank you so much to the panelists and our co-moderator Ninad and all the participants. And thank you for joining on the weekend. I can understand how difficult it is to take out time and talk. So thank you so much. We'll get back to you with the feedback form and other details. We will also send you these slides in case if you need anything. So we'll send you an attachment, and these videos are there on live on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow there. You can look at these videos whenever you are writing an email, planning for application or anything. So with that, we will end here.
Yeah, thank you everyone once
Thank
again,
you.
Yeah,
and
good
then
night.
have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Have a nice
Have
day
a great
wherever you
weekend.
are. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye bye.